Good morning, viewer. Welcome to our Fosek TV. Here's the breaking news from Chinese port. On last Wednesday, Han Chinese protests erupted in the world's biggest iPhone factory in Xinjiang, with workers clashing with Hajamat Sweets, wearing riot police over zero COVID policy and alleged non-payment of salaries. Even though President Xi Jinping has been elected for the third term, he is the first leader facing lowest economic growth in the past 4 decades. The Chinese vaccines have been largely ineffective, forcing partial or total lockdown even in Beijing, let alone Tibet and Muslim Xinjiang. That President Xi reached out to Western leaders on the sidelines of the G20 summits this month clearly shows that China's wolf warrior diplomacy has failed, and its Belt and Road Initiative is heading to become a non-productive asset, with countries like Nepal and Sri Lanka not interested in high-interest loans from Chinese Exim Bank. However, China has increased its military budgets and is baring teeth towards Taiwan and India for standing up to authoritarian Chinese communist regime. With economic growth in dire straits and internal strains erupting all over China, President Xi may, though a Mao Zedong, and strike a nationalist squad by forcing a military situation to disgrace angry domestic situation within the communist country, with unemployment among youth reaching records level. One must remember that Mao Zedong did a 1962 on India after the homogeneous failure of Great Leap Forward, which resulted in death of tens of millions of Chinese people due to hunger and famine. While Taiwan is under the protection of the US, it is the strategic autonomy of India that may be targeted by China in near future, and that should be the cause of worry for Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his national security planners. What better way to reach coordination than by militarily humiliating India anywhere along the 3,488-kilometer long line of actual control by intruding into Indian territory. This is not a strategic scenario but a distinct possibility if one considers the PLA, which reports directly to President Xi, moves along the LAC. Although Chinese military spokesmen talk about stable LAC post-May 2020 PLA transgression in East Ladakh, the ground reality is very different, with the PLA packed up in occupied Aksai Chin and Xinjiang region. The major worry is the deployment of additional 4 combined armed brigades of the PLA across the eastern sectors as reserves a month before the 20th National Party Congress last month, even as India and China are still to resolve the border issue arising out of May 2020 transgression. The PLA combined armed brigades are essentially a battle group organized around 4,500 troopers with artillery, rocket and armor support for faster mobility during hostilities. The Indian ensure the Chinese CAB are integrated battle groups, which are being rolled out first within the mountain crop. According to reports, the PLA have inducted the CBS from Eastern and Southern Theatre Command and deployed them across India's Eastern Army sector. One brigade is deployed at Fari Dizong across the Siliguri corridor, or so-called Chicken Neck area, one at Tishona Dizong across Tawang sector, and 2 at Yanbazin and Bai Zikhan near Nyangchi across the Wallong sector in Arunachal Pradesh. Until such times these CABs do not move back to their original bases, the military threat to the eastern sector will remain high, even though its ostensible purpose may be for internal duties as part of the sanctions of the Tibet. While India has raised the issue of these battle groups with the Chinese in border meetings in the eastern sector, fact is that the CABs are still deployed in reserves with no sign of any movement back to bases. This deployment may also be a signal to India to take a step back from Quad or take an active role in the Indo-Pacific, and given the state of economic chaos in the Indian neighborhood, China could also trigger unrest in Sri Lanka, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, Myanmar, Bhutan, or even rattle Bangladesh. While China under Xi is continuing to put military pressure directly and through client state Pakistan on India, it should question itself why the Quad has gained salience in the past 5 years and the role playing by Beijing in its restructuration, it should also remember that the more it pushes India on borders, the more India may exercise the option of leaning towards the United States, as the Modi government, unlike the previous UPA regime, has no ideological hang-ups and works on India first principle. India, meanwhile, continues to deeply engage Russia so that it does not take the route to Beijing and stop India of crucial military supplies and platform. However, India needs to build its military industrial complex so that it is not dependent on any third country for crucial hardware supplies. And it here also that the Indian private sector must live up to expectation. The Indian industries, despite all the bureaucratic hurdles, must manufacture within the country rather than add to an already homogeneous Indian trade deficit with China by importing from the adversary. So, the avoid perceived post-retirement complication with enforcement agency, a classic case of this, that the clearance for building a tunnel under Sinku La to pave way for an all-weather separate route to Ladakh via Himachal Pradesh is hanging fire now for over 4 years. The move to tweak regulation to allow private companies play a larger role in Indian defense manufacturing is also lost in files, while the bureaucracy window raises shortcomings as a penalty for being a democracy. The authoritarian Chinese regime is not waiting for India to catch up. BN Report for SAK TV.